Thank you so much, Barry, for the invitation to be here this evening, and to all of you for your interest. I really do appreciate this. And can everyone hear me?
No.
Can we raise it a little?
How was that? Is that better? No.
You want to use the other mic?
Testing.
No.
No. Okay. Here. Try this.
Try this one.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem at all. How about that? Is that better? Great. I was saying thank you to Barry for inviting me to be here, and thanks to all of you for your interest. I spend quite a lot of time talking with members of the life sciences community, by which I mean our academic institutions and our industry. I don't as often have a chance to talk with the public, and it's very important to me to do so because I want very much for you to understand what we're doing. After all, we are stewards of our collective tax dollars, and we hold ourselves very accountable for how we are, in fact, investing those.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm getting the buzz there. Yeah. All right.
There you
Yeah,
go.
we were getting the buzz there. That's why I was.
Okay, how's that? Ah, yes.
Oh,
I hear that myself. Good.
Thank you.
Let me just start by giving you a quick context for the Life Sciences Initiative, and then I'll talk a bit more about some of our programs and what we're hoping to achieve via those programs. I'll start by saying, first of all, that by life sciences, I'm referring to biotechnology, to pharmaceuticals, to medical devices, which are Massachusetts' #1 export. And a medical device is a contact lens. It's a pacemaker. If you've had any hip replacement surgery, you have a device. So again, kind of a stent is a device. It includes medical diagnostics, so when you go to the doctor and they take some blood and they run a test, if you've had genetic testing or a pregnancy test or any blood work, those are all diagnostics. And then finally, bioinformatics, which is really the intersection between IT and biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and the like. I think there has been a lot of discussion, just speaking very candidly, about whether or not having an initiative that focuses on life sciences is picking a winner or a loser in terms of the state's economic sectors. I think the way to really think about this is that a focus on what we're calling the innovation economy is really a strategy by this administration to look at the growth sectors of the economy, not to the exclusion of other sectors, but sectors that really are strong and growing and are well poised to lead the state out of the economic doldrums, and to make some focused investments in the needs of those particular sectors. Now, there's some things that we know about driving economic development in the innovation sectors. And they're called innovation sectors because they rely very much on new ways of doing things. It's a big part of how business is done. It's a big part of the business model. We know that innovation sectors require solid infrastructure. That's something that they really need to be successful. And in the interest of really making sure that life sciences, in this case, can pick the parts of Massachusetts that are most amenable to its needs, we at the Life Sciences Center are very interested in making sure that there is solid infrastructure all across the state. A second characteristic of innovation economy is sort of how you support this cluster. We know that a talented workforce is very, very important, and we certainly are known for that here in Massachusetts. We know that investments in research are very important for the innovation economy because it's really the discovery, the new ways of doing things that are very, very important. Now, I personally distinguish between invention and innovation. An invention is a good idea. and it's maybe even a good idea to maybe manifest. But when we talk about something that is really innovative, it transforms the way in which we do things. It is broadly used and applied, and fundamentally changes a lot of the parameters, a lot of the way in which we're doing other things. So in my mind, a key part of innovation is the commercialization and the manufacturing that goes along with that. And we're very well positioned in Massachusetts to support innovation economic sectors, because we have parts of the state, in the eastern part specifically, that are very densely populated, and that lends itself very well to invention and discovery. But we also have parts of the state to the west, to the south, where resources are available, there's lots of land, there's lots of clean water, there are talented workers, and they lend themselves very well to the manufacturing aspects. And as you know, we've lost a lot of jobs in manufacturing in Massachusetts. So the innovation economy really represents a way to drive growth in the state by relying on things that we do very well in Massachusetts and we have in abundance. Academic institutions, talented workers, the right kind of geographic conditions to support innovation from invention to manufacturing. So a very important reason for the focus, if you will, on life sciences. Just a few more things about life sciences as a driver of economic development. We know that in Massachusetts, the life sciences cluster, biotech, for example, has been growing at a rate that's about 60% faster than other parts of the economy in the state since 2000. So even in this down economy, we are seeing growth in that sector. Life sciences is a very inclusive economic sector. Most of us would think of scientists in white lab coats when we think of life sciences. Not true. That the smallest number of jobs in life sciences really are the scientists themselves. There are many, many jobs that are for skilled manufacturing, people with strong vocational skills. Finance, regulatory experts, so people with degrees in the law. IT, marketing, sales, customer service. All of these are very, very important components of the job market in life sciences, so it's a very, very inclusive sector. Also, in Massachusetts, we're very interested in focusing on sectors of the economy that really are creating sustainable skills. We have a talented workforce. We want to hold on to that workforce. We need to provide jobs that really respond to the talent and training of the young people that we're producing from our great academic institutions. And in addition, we know that the jobs in life sciences pay above average, even at the entry level, even the manufacturing jobs. So again, a very, very solid part of the state's economy in which to invest. And finally, the life sciences itself is a very mission-driven economic sector. What gets most people in life sciences up every day is the possibility of improving the quality of life. Not just in Massachusetts and not just in the US, but globally. So for all of these reasons, there were a compelling argument for making some targeted investments in the life sciences. Let's talk a little bit about what this initiative looks like. We are a quasi-public entity, and just a quick correction, Barry. The governor did not appoint me. I was hired by our board of directors. And you may have heard about the quasi-publics, and the quasi-publics run amok, which is often what we hear about these quasi-public agencies. What are the quasi-publics? We are independent organizations that have been created for the express purpose of implementing an initiative on behalf of the state, and that is on behalf of the public. So the fact that we are not a state agency frees us from many aspects of the political process, which could in fact get in the way of our efforts to really do what is going to be in the best interest of achieving our mission. At the same time, though, we are harnessed to that mission. So we walk a fine line in the quasi-public organizations, between using some of the best practices from industry, certainly all of the best practices in public policy, with great accountability for what we do. And part of what makes us unique, again, is our governance structure. We do report to a board of directors, and that board provides a certain amount of protection and insulation for us, if you will, to be true to the needs of our mission. So our vision at the Life Sciences Center, we are charged with enacting an initiative that was the vision of Governor Patrick. It was enacted by the legislature in 2008. And we are here to develop and offer best practices in the innovative investments in economic development initiatives that support Massachusetts. They are unique to life sciences, but our hope is that we are developing innovative programs that really will be relevant for other technology sectors. You can see our mission here. I won't go into it in great detail, except to say that we have bookend objectives. We are here to promote good science and good business. Those are the dual components, if you will, of life sciences. These are really the functions of the Life Sciences Center. As I said, we are ourselves an innovation entity. We are looking to see what we can do that is creative and at the forward edge of driving economic development by looking at the needs and the gaps of the life sciences community and how we can support that. So we are seeding programs, we are accelerating the growth of programs. We are always looking to find ways to leverage our dollars. I'll talk about that in a minute. We are an investment group, and we hold ourselves to many of the principles of an investment group. That is, we want to make smart decisions, and we rely very heavily on experts in life sciences to guide that decision making. We are also responsible for the stewardship and the compliance of the organizations that receive those dollars, because these are public dollars. So we walk a fine line, between wanting to be expedient and practical and flexible, but at the same time we want to be rigorous, and we want to have a lot of accountability. And finally, because of our broad mandate, we have a unique bully pulpit, if you will. We're really able to convene and aggregate the various groups and members of the life sciences community in a way that's very important, because it really sort of strengthens the ecosystem and the infrastructure here in Massachusetts to support the growth of life sciences. We're a world leader in life sciences. It's really important that we continue to make sure that the conditions are right here, again, for the good science and the good business. Who are we? What is our value proposition? I think you can see here, but uniquely, we have tried to put in place an infrastructure that enables us to be very responsive to the needs of our different constituents, some best-in-class processes for making our decisions. We like to think that we work at the speed of business and not what one might typically associate with the pace of state organizations, but we want to do things thoughtfully but quickly. We are really looking to leverage what we do. We, like all agencies and all families in the Commonwealth, have certainly been impacted by the tight budget. And our dollars have not been what might have been contemplated by the statute, but we are happy to have gotten investment in this tight economy. We want to make the very best use of those dollars by highly leveraging them. Access, we are in a unique position to have access to and provide access to the many constituencies within life sciences. And we are broad and deep. We are the state's initiative, not Cambridge, not Boston, Massachusetts. And what we care about is promoting the interest of life sciences across the state and the needs of the different communities, and enabling them to take the best advantage of the economic development opportunities that make sense given their communities. I mentioned that we have a board of directors. You can see them here. Per the statute, the positions are described and they represent our stakeholders in life sciences. So you see here, there are members of the governor's cabinet. So we are balancing the economic needs of the state with the speed of really, where we are responding to the economic development engine of the state, at the same time being fiscally responsible, having the Secretary of Administration and Finance and of Economic Development on our board. You can see the public university system is represented, the medical community and industry. I know it's a bit hard to read this slide, but this is our scientific advisory board. They guide us in all of our investments. And you'll see here scientists from industry, from academia, from medical centers, and in orange are VCs. So once again, we are looking for good science and good business. The statute conferred 3 different types of tools on the center. One is a capital fund. We receive a share of bonds that are sold every year by the state, and we use those to invest in infrastructure across the state. The second is the ability of the center to award up to $25 million a year in tax incentives. One thing that is unique about our tax incentives are that the companies that receive them must commit to job creation the year following the receipt of their incentive. So any company that received incentives from us in 2009 had committed to create a certain number of jobs in 2010. If they don't create 70% of those jobs and retain those jobs for 5 years, we will claw back the incentive. The third fund is an appropriation from the legislature, and we are able to use those dollars for grants, for loans, and for other types of support. You see here, basically, the amounts that we have received versus what was contemplated in the statute. Again, we've been very much affected, as we all have, by the state budget, but I think we've done some good things with our dollars. $1 billion sounds like a lot of money. In life sciences, $1 billion basically is what it costs to bring one new drug to the market. So we have had to be very focused and set priorities for those dollars. We can't be all things to all people. And consistent with good cluster economic development theory, you will see that we have selected some areas where we think our dollars can make a difference. Let's make sure that our academic institutions remain competitive. They drive innovation, they drive invention and discovery. Our pipeline of new companies, let's make sure they have working capital to grow. The supply of our workforce, let's make sure that we are training the next generation of workers and that they are well distributed across the state and they have the right skills to support the needs of industry. Thirdly, let's make sure we've got the right infrastructure across the state, and let's do all that we can to attract and retain companies and encourage them to grow and create jobs in Massachusetts. So here's the bottom line. Since 2008, we have invested about $200 million, and we're investing our collective tax dollars. But the better news is that we've highly leveraged those dollars. We have used those dollars to attract another $700 million. And those are dollars that we would have had to find through other methods in the state. We would have had to find another $700 million in revenues to make the level of investment that we have made. So we've invested already about $1 billion. An important metric for us is the job creation that we are driving. We are creating about 6,500 jobs. They are both in the building trades as well as permanent jobs paying above average salaries. Let me very quickly, because I want to be mindful of my time, just tell you about some of our programs. In keeping with our priorities, we have made investments in the academic institutions here in Massachusetts. We have funded 21 young scientists. We have enabled 5 universities to hire senior faculty. We have funded 6 collaborations between industry and academia. We have matched every one of our dollars with another dollar. So we've invested a total of $25 million using about $12.5 million of the public dollars. Our investments are broad. They are representative of companies across the state, large and small companies, our public and our private universities, as well as our research institutions and our academic medical centers. We also are providing working capital support to early stage companies. We've structured these as loans. One, we want to give companies that are borrowing money from the state an incentive to go out and get additional investment to repay those loans. We're able to then recycle those dollars. The objective of our investments really is to enable young companies to what we call de-risk themselves, to move forward with their science so that they are more attractive to commercial investors, corporate investors, VCs. So we are in these very tough economic times taking a position that says if the state comes in earlier and we're willing to take some risks, then we can attract other investors to come in. And so far that's working very well. We've given 10 loans to date, about $5 million. We've just opened another round and we'll be investing another $3 million in early stage companies. How are the companies doing? They're doing very, very well. Good Start Genetics already has repaid its loan. They received a loan from us in 2009, and in a little over a year they were repaying that loan. They used the dollars to improve and take their science forward and to raise an $18 million round of investment from venture capital companies. We are also leveraging large companies. They're here in Massachusetts. They benefit from all that we offer in Massachusetts. We think it makes perfectly good sense for them to partner with us in investing in the pipeline in Massachusetts. 2 companies already have stepped forward and are doing that. Sanofi-Aventis, which is a large French-based company, and Johnson & Johnson. We're also making grants available to companies that are ready to commercialize. Here we're leveraging federal dollars, the National Institutes of Health, the Department of Defense, the National Science Foundation spends a lot of money every year investing in promising science. As I said, we want to turn the inventions into jobs and get this technology commercialized. So we're providing grants or working capital for companies in Massachusetts to help them begin to commercialize their technology. We provide tax incentives. Some of these are enhancements to the current tax code. Others are unique to the needs of life sciences companies. Again, every one of these incentives is tied to job creation. Companies must commit to creating jobs the year following their receipt of the tax incentive. Workforce development, a very important priority of the center. We fund interns every year. These are juniors and seniors in college in Massachusetts. They either are residents of the state who are going to school elsewhere, or they are students we are paying in Massachusetts to train. So we want to retain them, if at all possible. We want to get residents to return here to work. We want to keep as many of the students that we are training. And so we provide stipends. We funded almost 200 interns this past summer. We make it very easy. The students from all across the Commonwealth put their resumes on our website. The companies come and shop, kind of speed dating, and find interns that meet their needs, and we will pay the stipends. In particular, we're doing this for small companies that don't have the infrastructure to find interns or can't afford to do so. I mentioned investments in infrastructure. Very quickly, you'll see a variety of communities represented here. Things as simple as pumping stations. One of our first investments was in Framingham. We gave them $13 million to build a new pumping station. Why? Because a very, very important ingredient of biomanufacturing is clean water. And we're an old state with old infrastructure. And Genzyme was looking to build a manufacturing facility. They were looking at Massachusetts or North Carolina. We wanted those 300 jobs here in Massachusetts. By providing a grant to the town of Framingham to build a brand new pumping station, we were able to keep those jobs here. And finally, we do a lot at the center to welcome new companies. In the past several months, we've had companies come from France, from the UK, from Italy. One of our very important roles is to welcome them and integrate them into the economy here in Massachusetts. We want them to have a good footprint here. We want them to be well integrated, to collaborate with other companies here. So we're leveraging both our investment here as well as that international investment. So I will be happy to take questions later. I'm going to turn it over to my